Everybody remembers Palm Pilots. One of the first things that I did this morning, and I know it's going to be small for you back there, is I had a meeting, not just myself, but John was there, Sandra was there, Nikki was there, so quite a few members of Garth was there. We had a meeting with the Minister of Infrastructure, and as you know, good things are happening all across the region with federal and provincial money, and we'll talk about the federal first. The Minister of Infrastructure yesterday, and I hate to use the word awarded or gave, because he's really our money, right? He just allocated the money somewhere it needed to go to Junction Creek. Junction Creek needs to be better controlled and thought about for the next 200 years. That we don't have flooding downtown or in the flour mill or anywhere like that, or worse, other places. As you know, the provincial government has also allocated money to a long-term plan to solve the Highway 537 problem, which is, the only other alternative way really to get across from 17 to 69, or the other way across at Jumbo Creek. And often that is kind of an adventure through Wanapitei to Stair, right? You know that road. Have you taken that road? Yep, many people have. Some people haven't, but there's cool roads, like there's Hungarian Road, and there's all these places you've never ever heard of, and there's actually businesses down some of them, farms, and I think the Dog Pound is down there somewhere, or maybe it's out at Cambrian now again. But I don't know. Everything moves around at some point in time in Sudbury. But Minister of I actually thought I was going to a champagne breakfast this morning because the minister's name is Champagne. And I thought, ooh, I'm going to something with champagne. That's what it said on my phone. And my agenda said champagne. It's like, 9 in the morning, champagne. This is perfect. And then it turned out to be the Minister of Infrastructure. Oh, well. But he was okay. It was fun. So we are calling this meeting to order. It is just a few minutes past 12:30, and I appreciate it. Everybody gets here so we can... our day is busy. My day's busy. So many things going on. Do you find Sudbury's getting busier and busier? Yeah. Like there's concerts and activities and art shows and there's the seniors prom and there's that's a plug for you, Nikki, back there, because she's organizing that. And there's the garden show and seriously, some nights do you look through the community events and go, I'd like to go to that and that and that, and no, I'm not going to any of them because it's snowing out or it's slippery or whatever, right? But unfortunately, I tend to go to one or two things. Just before we begin, I think it's really interesting because I made a joke this morning at this the meeting. I said there are two things that concern Sudbury: potholes and pot. How many of you noticed that the pot stores... It was supposed to all be done, right? And then we ended up with 2 stores. One in New Sudbury and one in the South End. Yay! No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea whether it's yay or not. Time will tell. We don't really know what this is going to mean, do we? Like, we don't know what it's... I mean, the other day, there was somebody who served brownies at an event, and they were laced with marijuana. We don't have any brownies today. I apologize. But we have the police here, too, so we're not doing edibles. But I'm waiting for in fact, I bought a cookbook the other day. It's cooking with cannabis. And I haven't opened it up yet, but it smells interesting. There's recipes inside. I'm going to have to give it a try. So the first the first pot store is delaying its opening on Marcus Drive. So you can go get an A&W burger. You can go and buy your liquor. You can go shopping at Winners. And then you can go to pot store. It's like all in one little thing. It'd be great. And at the Four Corners, does everybody know where the pot store is going? Yeah. No, the Four Corners Plaza. So you can go to Shoppers Drug Mart. You can mail your stuff because they've got a post office in the back. You can go and get medical stuff done. You can go to Finn McCool's and have a beer, and then you can go and get your pot. So, perfect. I mean, it's easy, right? Except parking there is a real pain. Do you find getting in and out of there? It's a... And how many of you know about the Pothole app that's out there? There's actually an app for your phone where you can take a picture of the pothole on your street or wherever, and if you've got it linked, it will actually record, or you can type it in, and you can actually then report to the city. The minister, just to wrap that little story up in one neat package, the minister this morning was a bit delayed because CBC challenged him. They said, "You're the Minister of Infrastructure. That means roads, right?" And he said, "Yes. And not municipal roads, but we fund those things." They said, "Great. Let's get you out and you'll fill some potholes." And when he came in, his hands were dirty, and he'd been out filling potholes. And he's like, but when they stopped, he said, "Which one do you want me to do?" Because it's true. I mean, there's not one, there's not 50, there's not 500, there's 5,000. I bet you there's more than 5,000. And that's just the Kingsway. Anyways, we will call this meeting to, we need somebody to accept the agenda. Who will do that? Just say your name out loud.
Diane Fortin.
Diane Fortin. Merci mille fois. Somebody to second it. Absolutely.
Doris Reed.
Doris?
Reed.
Reed. I did know that. I just forget things if you're not in my my calendar. So everybody agree? Let's do it. Fantastic. We have, of course, the minutes of March 28th. My God, that's a long time ago. Well, it's not March 20th. That must be an error. That must be an error. Anyways, it is the last. Are we accepting the minutes of the last meeting, which are included in there? Does somebody want to move for that? Say your name out loud, and then I'll repeat it so that Sandra can get it back there. Garth, why don't you move it? So moved, Garth Wunsch. Who else? Seconded. Somebody needs to second it. Just say your name. Yes.
Mary Mozon.
Mary Mozon? Oh, do we know how to spell Mozon? M-O-Z-Z-O-N. That's so cool. I love Zeds because I got one in my name, but you got two. That's fantastic. Now, if you could have an X in there, that would be even better. Work all the end of the alphabet. We also have a financial report inside, which, to be honest, I have not looked at yet, but I know that we achieved so you know, does everybody know about the dream home, the ultimate dream home? Many of you tour it, many of you volunteer at it. That's our prime and perhaps only, well, not the only, we do get royalties from the CARP for our sales of memberships and phone plans. But Ultimate Dream Home tickets, look at that, $5,597. So that helps fund all our things over the years. It pays for coffee and all the things that we enjoy while we're here. We have a bank balance of $6,282, which will last us the year. Who can approve to accept the financial report? Just say your name out loud. Harry, say it.
Harry Shepherd.
Harry Shepherd, 2 P's. Harry Shepherd, thank you very much. Who will second it? We need a seconder, and then we need to all agree.
Larry Salsky.
Larry Salsky. Hey, Larry Salsky, how are you doing? You can come in the side door, eh? You don't need to go in the front door when you come here. Did you know that? Oh, you did. Okay, you're just going to say hi. Yeah. Did you go to see Body Worlds yet?
Not yet.
Oh, so some of us were here for their opening day, and I'm going to try and get tickets, maybe for the AGM, because it's here till September, so that some of our members can go. You know, we have a really good relationship with Science North. I bet if you went to the front desk and you say, "I'm a senior, I'd like 15% off," they'd probably give it to you. What do you think? Bring a family. If you haven't been for a while, Body Worlds, they just refinished the 4th floor as well. So all in agreement to the financial? Yes, thank you very much. I have a chair's report. Oh, I did, and I wrote that. Guess what I wrote about? Does anybody remember what I wrote about? I remember what I wrote. It has been a winter of despair for many who could not escape to warmer and snow-free weather elsewhere. For those who stayed, it's been a challenge of navigating snow-clogged and potholed streets and roadways. Representation to the city with respect to snow removal in the downtown, where high snowbanks made access to parking meters very I took pictures. Man, it was like climbing Mount Everest. You couldn't get close to them. And so there was a meter guy one day, and I said, I couldn't get in there. And he goes, and I said, "Well, you know, if you give me a ticket, I'm gonna hand it back to you." And he goes, he says, "Everybody says that." Many streets were not cleared of snow and became ice-rutted. Wasn't that terrible? It was like driving on train tracks. Your car was being torn from side to side. Difficult to walk, especially for seniors, and many bus stop areas were not cleared either. These issues were brought to the attention of the city. Also, submissions were made to city strategic planning exercise involving councillors and concerns expressed with respect to the 3.6% tax increase. Well, actually, that's more than twice the rate of inflation for those on fixed incomes. And don't forget, it's not 3.6%. It's a lot more because they've de-rolled a number of other things. Also concerns with respect to the city plans to borrow money to replace our arena, library, art gallery. Mayfield, all these things, it's just, we don't know how. Luckily, though, we did get $10 million from the gas tax rebate that comes to the city, which they'll be spending on roads.
Well, that would be nice.
Right, yeah, that was in yesterday's paper. Lack of affordable housing for some, yes, but though I read a report recently, most of you, who is living in their own home still? Ah, yeah, so this is what it says. 94% of Canadians of a certain age live in their own homes. Less as you age, but in fact, the number of people who live in care facilities is actually a very small number when you do it all across Canada. $2,000 a month. Yes, I just looked in Northern Life, and what did I see? I saw a development, and it's the new one that's being built just over here. Did you see that one? It's $2,200 a month. I mean, do the math. Multiply that by 12. You're better to stay in your own home. You can do a bunch of things with that kind of money. Healthcare continues to be a concern. Reduce and eliminate hall wall medicine at Health Sciences North. Efforts are being made to improve civic services. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, I did say that. I didn't say blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things going on. And there's a lot of, community events, newsletters, programs, telephone. I have to tell you about the telephone committee. Is Cora here? Cora's not here. Oh, well, she'll be at the AGM. We are actually ending the telephone committee. It doesn't reach. What page is that? Do you have it? Or okay, Sandra's going to bring it forward, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Thank you. We are disbanding the telephone committee at the end of this season. There's not going to be any members at this meeting. Phone committee has made sense. It has made sense for more than a decade. But now most seniors, back then fewer had computers and devices, and back then we used to have a number of other things that made sense as well. Now National manages one list, so they operated all the way through, and unfortunately a number of the people, their actual number that they phone has got smaller and smaller because people have died or moved away. We have a lot of email addresses for most of you. Many members have let their membership lapse as well as they've aged as well, but that happens. So only 50% of the telephone numbers that we had in the past are now working, and they did super amazing work. Everybody remembers Francis DeRoche, Millie Faca, who's no longer with us, Judy Zilio, Ann Long. We want to thank them so much, and we will at the May luncheon as well. Thank them for all their great work. And Cora will continue to reach out to those who still would like to be reached, because let's face it, not everybody wants to get a phone call or a text message. I mean, not that we don't get enough of those things. And let's move on to the next item. Motion to accept the chair's reports, and can we roll that into one? Chair's report and committee reports? I think we can roll it into one. Yes, your name? Reynold? Reynold Wolfram. What a great last name. There's a W. Reynold Wolfram. Sandra's got it? Yes, she's got it. And seconded by somebody. Somebody seconded? So we can go. Irene, would you second it?
Okay.
Irene, there we go. Irene will second that. All in favor? Good, that's that one done. And we have some new business. Please remember, and we do have tickets available today. If you brought some cash with you, and where are we having it? Where is the AGM?
Northbury.
The Northbury. Don't say the Lexington anymore, and don't phone me up and say, do you mean the Howard Johnson? because that's like, I don't know how far ago in the past. I'm so happy that everybody now is going to call it the Northbury once again, and there's less confusion, and that's it. We're done. And so it will be, the doors will open at 11 o'clock on the 22nd. Tickets are available from any board member till the 15th. And today, yes, we have them here today. We have all of them. We do have some wonderful presentations, and just before we begin that, I've talked about Northern Life. I should mention that Sudbury Living magazine is out, and I have 3 or 4 articles in it, but it's a really interesting, I mean, they're all interesting, but I did a piece on smart appliances. Like, so you could be at the store and you look on your phone and you go, oh, you know what? I don't have any, and of course it phones you back up and says, no, you don't have any celery. Or it says, your milk is expired. Yeah, it's very interesting. Anyways, do have a look at that. We have guest speakers today. And the first one that we're going to actually have is we're going to have our friend Nikki Sage step forward and tell you a little bit about her upcoming event. And then Lise Perrault is going to tell us all about, well, all that she knows about fraud and that we probably might have some inkling of. But let's face it, fraud is ever changing. What we know today, and I'm going to see if Lise nods her head, what we know today about fraud, tomorrow will change, right? Because how many of you do this? My mother's back there and my mother does this. Here's the phone. Ring, ring. Hello? No answer. Hello? Did you know that there is a device that they've got, if you answer twice or 3 times to an empty, there's nobody there, they know you're a senior. They know, and they may not call you back right there. They may not even engage with you. They know that. They put it on a list. They'll call you 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, and they know that they've got, yes. Bring, bring. Hello? Don't. Or say something bad. You know. You can do it. I just gave you permission. Yes.
Where can we get that Sudbury book?
The Sudbury Living magazine? Oh, everywhere. You can sign up and get it. You can go and pick it up at Northern Life. You can probably pick it up at the library. You can subscription. You can call Northern Life. Absolutely, definitely. Nikki Sage. I just love Nikki's last name too, because you know what a sage femme is, a very wise woman. So she's going to come up.
That's why I didn't change it when I married my husband.
Ah, there we go. Come on up, Nikki.
Hello, everyone. How are we doing today?
Good.
You don't know? Well, hopefully when I'm done, you will be very, very excited about an event that we are doing and that is coming up. So I want you to raise your hand if you like dancing. Okay. Raise your hand if you like food. More hands on that one, so that's good. No, sorry, no alcohol. I know everyone's hand would go up there. And raise your hand if you like to have fun. Everyone's hand should go up for that, right? Well, I think if you raised your hand to one or all 3 of those, you really want to come out to an event that we're doing. So we are hosting a seniors prom. We are partnered with Llewellyn Park Secondary School, so the high school in their gym, and we are going to have a prom that is just for seniors. And our prom is taking place Thursday, April 11th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Llewellyn Park Secondary School gym.
Free parking.
There is free parking. I am working on free transit, but I don't have it yet. And guess how much tickets cost? Oh, that'd be better. $1. And I have brought lots of tickets with me. So we have hors d'oeuvres. I have 2 ladies called the Sparkle Sisters who are coming out to do the music at our event. I just found out today from the high school that we have a swing dance demonstration as well that will be coming out. We have prizes for spot dances, best dressed, We'll have a kind of a prize table set up of local businesses that have donated. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I have some tickets left over, so I wanted to bring those tickets here with me today. I brought a whole bunch of posters. The school's very involved. The school band's involved. They are decorating their gym. I have a primary school, RLBD, that is making little corsages. Corsages? Did I say that right? Don't. I'm being recorded too. That they're making those, so we can give those out as well. So we have a lot of people coming together. It is a fun, filled night. And if you want a ticket, I have some with me. I will trust you, Hugh, and I will leave some tickets with you as well. So even after this meeting, if you want to head on in the back and grab some tickets, you can do that as well. Of course you want to bring a friend. You want to dance, you want to have fun, you never know who you're going to meet. And it is going to be a lot of fun. The school's excited, I'm excited. I can't wait to see everybody coming out. I can't wait to see, how people are getting dressed. Our theme is Party Like It's 1945. And so it's going to be fun. There's going to be no alcohol. Please don't spike the punch. But there will be punch. There will be drinks, hors d'oeuvres, a silent movie playing in the background as well. If you want to dance for a bit, sit down and enjoy the rest of the night. And lots of opportunity to talk, mingle. So if you like to dance, you like to have fun, you like to eat, this event's for you. And $1. So I hope to see you all out there. How do you want me to do tickets? Do you want me to... Yeah, is that the best way? I think I've explained everything. Is there any questions that maybe I can answer right now in regards to the event?
What's the date again?
April 11th, which is a Thursday, and it's from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I'm going to leave some posters here as well, so you can just grab one and take it with you just as to remember, and it's on the tickets as well. And Prom King and Queen, sorry. We'll be nominating Prom King and Queen. Almost forgot that.
Prince and Princess.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you all very, very much. I hope to see some faces out there, and have a great rest of your day.
I'll see you in the back. Now, that is a good event. It's going to be a fun event. Should we all go? I think we should. Even if you just come for an hour, and as I mentioned before, and it's so important, parking is free. And if you can come to Science North, you can go to this thing as well. So there's 2 events for you to put on your calendars, one for April, one for May. I know that frequently when we see a police car in our rearview mirrors, we get a little uptight. But we've got Lise Perot here, and she does things differently. I don't. Have you ever given a ticket in the last 5 years?
I'm not an officer.
You're a civilian. Well, you've done the ride-alongs, right? She's done the ride-alongs. She's here to talk about fraud, and I'm going to bring Lise up to the front here. Unless Joy is here to introduce her. I know that where did you work before you went to the police department?
I've been with the service for 15 years.
15 years? My goodness, I can't believe that. Straight out of high school. Yeah. So I'm going to
tell you differently.
Okay, well, we're going to sit back and enjoy this. Well, no, we're not going to enjoy this talk. I want you to be angry. If you see something wrong in your community, or your friend says to you, I just got a call from my grandchild. It might not be. So I'm sure she's going to tell us all about it. How are we doing?
I'm good. I'm just going to move the laptop over here.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So again, I am a civilian with the Greater Sudbury Police. I'm part of the community safety personnel. There's 10 of us now. What we've done is taken positions that were formerly done by police officers but didn't require the power of arrest, or we're not going to tackle anyone or anything like that. And they've civilianized those positions. So I am part of the group that's starting this. We were originally 6, we're up to 8 now. No, 10 now, so we are growing. We go out in the community and oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Oh, I really am short, aren't I? Sorry, is that better? So we go out, and my job is to go out in the community and do presentations, as well as I'm there as a tool for family members who are looking to connect with services and stuff like that. So, but today we're going to talk about frauds and scams. I'm going to tell you that I cannot speak on every scam there is out there. But on a side note, Hugh was talking about some things that are coming up in the community that you might be interested in attending. On May 13th, we're going to have our opening ceremonies for Police Week. We do that once a year. This year it will be held here on the grounds at Science North. And if you want to see that body, what's it called, Hugh? Body World. It will be open during our thing, and it'll be part of our celebration. So that's on May 13th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. and it'll be free hot dogs and hamburgers as well. So if you want to come out that day, it'll be a fun afternoon, and there'll be all kinds of police vehicles here and police officers, and you can interact with our vehicles and check them out and see some of the things and services that are out there in the community that people don't know that the police service does provide. So it's a great way to just get familiar with the police service. So anyways, today we're going to talk about frauds and scams and the different things that are out in the community. I can't touch on all of them, like I said, but I will give you examples, and I certainly will answer questions as they come along. The first one we're going to talk about is the Nigerian letter scam. Generally, you'll receive a letter through Canada Post. It may come by fax, or it could come by email. It'll say, congratulations, you're going to receive an unexpected windfall or inheritance. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to think, wow, I'm so fortunate. The letter will be marked as urgent, and the fraudster wants you to act fast. They don't want you to think about it, and they certainly don't want you to talk to anyone about it, because if you do, then you'll realize it's a scam. The letter may be authored by a professional such as a lawyer, a doctor, or a diplomat, or if you're really, really lucky, years and years ago you received one from a crown prince. We could all be princesses in Nigeria now. The letter will require you to contact someone to arrange for the release of funds, and you will be asked to pay an upfront fee. You will be told that you are required to pay the taxes or to pay some sort of processing fee. I can tell you, if it's an inheritance in Canada, any taxes or fees are paid by the estate, not by yourself. So therefore, you would never be required to pay money out of your pocket. And I can tell you that if you have some unknown relative in another country who suddenly passed away and left you 38 million US dollars, it's too good to be true. Don't believe it. Make sure you reach out to your family. Make sure you talk to someone if you receive one of these and you think, what if? I can tell you, my husband received a letter some months ago. It was said to be written by a lawyer in Maine in the US. And it said, we have a person who's passed away with the last name Perrault. We would like you to come forward and represent yourself as their next of kin. And I looked at my husband and went, you realize that would be committing international fraud, because you're crossing the border. You're saying that you're a relative, and you're not. And my husband and I both laughed about it, shredded it, and got rid of it, but I wish I had kept it, because it would have been a really good example. But it is something that you never know what you're going to get in the mail. The antivirus scam is another one that's very common as well. Everybody gets this one. The company representative will call you and say that they are calling from Microsoft or the Canadian Cyber Incident Response Center. And actually, while I was waiting back there, I received a text from someone asking me about an HP one, so that would be Hewlett Packard. Again, that's a new one that's just come out that I've just heard about today. You will be told that your computer is running slow or has viruses. Your first question should be, how would they know? They're not in your home. They're not there. They don't see your computer. They don't know how your computer's running. They will offer to repair it remotely. They tell people that their computer is being used by hackers, and they will say that you are going to be held responsible for anything that the hackers do if you don't repair the problem. Allowing a third party to download software or remotely access your computer carries inherent risks. They may install keyloggers or other malicious software which could be used to capture sensitive data such as your banking information, your passwords, or other identity information. A lot of people will then ask me, what is a keylogger? A keylogger is a program that sends back to the scammers every key that you touch. Eventually, you may put in your bank card number or your credit card number, your password information. You're going to create you're going to access something, so they're going to find out your username that you use. They're going to find out your passwords. Eventually, they can access your information, and then they can then access your banking information and steal information. So it's really important not to connect with these people. If they call you and say that they want to remotely connect with your computer, just hang up on them. I mean, I know that's mean and rude. We've not been raised that way, but that's what you should be doing. They can't access the information. I will speak, though, on behalf of Microsoft. I have a Microsoft Surface, and I have had to call them, and I've had to ask them to connect to my computer remotely to fix the problem, and they have. But I phoned them at a number that I knew to be the correct number. So Microsoft is a good company. It's unfortunate that scammers are using their name in a bad way. So please remember that. Yeah. Exactly. So long as you are calling the company and asking them for help, and you know that you are calling the correct number, it's not some number that somebody provided you on a phone, then you're okay. There's a question back there. Yeah, you've got to be really careful because scammers will use. Yeah. You called a scammer, yeah. You have to be careful when you Google, because by using Google, you don't know that you're going to the correct website. You have to know Microsoft.com is the page you should be going to. But if you don't know, it could be Microsoft Canada or some other program, and you don't know who you're accessing, so you have to be very, very careful. In my instance, I had the phone number in my handbook, and if you're calling Apple, as you suggested, it's a common, you know that it's apple.ca, like they're common, so you have to be very, very careful, and you have to research before you call that number. You got to make sure you're actually on the right web page. So you have to go through the web page, surf it, and make sure that there's other things that indicate to you that it is a legitimate website. So yes, you have to be careful of that. But we'll move on from there. So the check overpayment scam is another common one. A person who is receiving the check is usually owed money. The seller received a counterfeit check from the purchaser in an amount in excess of the money owed. The seller will ask the seller will be asked to deposit the funds and send the excess money back to the purchaser, usually through a third party or an agent, or to themselves through transfer somehow. When the check is discovered to be fraudulent, the seller is responsible for the loss. I'm going to explain that a little bit more in layman's terms. So you have a dresser you want to sell, you put it on Kijiji for $200. Someone comes to you on Friday evening and says, can I write you a check for $500 because I lost my bank card, my bank's closed until Monday, I have a baby, my baby needs diapers and formula, so can you give me the $300 difference so that I can buy my child the things that he needs. They're going to give you a sob story, and that's what I'm giving you, is a sob story, and I need the dresser for my child, so can I just write you a check? And you think, oh, you know what, sure, why not? The problem is that check is probably a stolen check or a forged check, and it is fraudulent. So you're going to be out your dresser, you're going to be out your $500, you're going to be out probably $100 in overdraft fees or NSF fees from the bank. So it's going to cost you about $800, and you'll be out your dresser as well. So that's something to remember. So what we suggest is that you should always be suspicious of anyone offering to pay you by check, because in this day and age, there's a bank machine around the corner, right? Never try to arrange for another form of payment. Usually an e-transfer or a cash is the best choices. Never accept a check for more than the selling price. And if you know who you're dealing with, never send money to a buyer. So if a family member says, you know what, can I write you a check? You know what, you know who they are, and they're not going to try and scam you. But in today's society, it's so easy to go get cash somewhere or to e-transfer that it's really not a good idea to accept checks anymore. You want to protect yourself that way.
Can we ask the question?
Absolutely.
How many of our audience, our members, do e-transfers? Interesting.
Do you guys know what an e-transfer is? So if you do any banking online, if you bank online, you can access, there's a certain area on your bank information. You'd have to ask your bank for the details on how to do it, but you can go and select e-transfer. So you're electronically transferring money from your account to someone's email address. And when they receive that, usually they say, to set it up so that there's a question or something, and they have to know the password. So you have to give that person the password, and then they can access the money and transfer it to their bank account. So that's a new way of doing transfers now that is safer, because you're not actually handling the cash, but you're not handling the check as well. So something that you might want to talk to your bank about if you do online banking. So. Hugh talked about some dead air calls earlier. I'm going to speak a little bit about it as well. So when the phone rings and no one is there, you've received a call from an automatic dialer that logs the time that the phone was answered. Historically, that was used by telemarketers to know when to call you so that you were home when they were trying to sell you whatever on the phone. Unfortunately, now scammers are using those machines as well. The telemarketer will use the information, like I said, to determine when someone's home and when it's a good time to call you and bug you. Scammers are using that same information to take advantage of people by, first of all, knowing when to call that someone will answer, and as Hugh said earlier, by knowing, by the tone of your voice, the sound of your voice, they can tell how old you are. And they can determine, you know what, that's an older person. I can maybe take advantage of that person. The first residents to pick up on an automatic dialer with a telemarketer will be connected to someone. If it is a scammer, it will be dead air and there will be no one there. So you have to wait and see if someone's going to connect you. But what I suggest is when you answer your phone, don't be in such a hurry to say hello. Answer the phone and wait 2 seconds and then say hello. And if no one says anything, don't say anything further. And if it's someone that's going to connect you to a telemarketer, you will be connected within 30 seconds. If it's a scammer, it'll stay dead air. Just hang up the phone. Yes?
If you have a display, why are you answering the phone if you don't?
That was the other thing I was about to suggest is if you have call display and it's an 800 number, and by 800 I mean 855-899-866-888, I could go on. Or if you don't recognize the number, most people have call answer or an answering machine. Don't answer the phone. If you do not recognize the number, even if it is a long distance number and you don't recognize it, let it go to voicemail or your answering machine. Because if it is important, if it's someone that really needs to speak with you, they will leave you a message. Most scammers do not. CRA is probably the only one that does. Yes?
The other thing that they've done now is they also will send you a number that's 705. So you think it's low.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If you don't recognize the number, don't answer it. So again, this is part of the scam that uses this automatic dialer. It is a computer-generated phone number that will show up on your phone. A lot of people will receive phone calls from their own home even, because they don't know, the one is set up one way and the other one's not, and they don't speak to each other, so they don't know what number they're calling from. But they want to make it look local so that it makes you feel more likely to answer the phone. So we'll move on to the grandparent scam. Typically, a grandparent will receive a call from someone pretending to be their grandchild or their child. The caller will say they're in some sort of trouble, such as they've been arrested for an impaired, and that they need money immediately. That's obviously the most important thing. Another person may even come on the line claiming to be the grandchild's lawyer or someone else. The caller will plead with the grandparent not to tell anybody, especially their parents. Please don't tell my parents. The money will be requested for bail or legal fees, and it will be requested that it be sent by Western Union or a MoneyGram. They'll also ask for prepaid credit cards now, prepaid bank cards, prepaid any gift cards, whatever they can get their hands on, including Bitcoin, which I will explain later on. Always check with family first. Don't send money through any wire services, and certainly not bank cards. I can tell you from a legal standpoint that our legal system does not require cash in order to bail someone out. You have to attend the courthouse and sign as a surety. You're signing a recognizance of bail, and you're saying that you are responsible for that person, and you will pay a certain amount should that person breach their conditions. But there is no cash bail. The other thing I can, unless someone's got a really, really long record and they come from another jurisdiction. I spent 7 years in our courts branch, and in those years, I think I've sought cash bail 3 or 4 times. It is not a common thing, and it's not just a couple of $1,000. It's usually a huge amount, and it's because that person has had history of not showing up for court. Again, it's very, very rare. Usually it is just a signature. It is not done over the phone. It is not done through a wire transfer. You cannot pay bail that way, nor do you pay legal fees. Anyone who is arrested will be covered by a lawyer and then they will make an arrangement to pay the lawyer after the fact. And the other thing that I want to mention is if they say, well, here's my lawyer, talk to my lawyer, I want you to think that they are magicians, because you cannot put your arm through a glass or through a wall to pass the phone to a lawyer. A lawyer is never in the same room as the accused. The accused is in custody. They're in a holding cell. Generally, when they call a lawyer, they do it by phone, and they won't see the lawyer until they're in bail court, and then they are in an interview room which has a glass partition. They are not in the same room, so they can't do it. They physically cannot do it. So those are some of the things to remember if someone calls you in this situation. Always check with the family as well. So if you're in a point where you think that maybe it is your grandchild, my suggestion is to tell the caller to call you back, because you have to transfer some money in order to be able to help them. And while you're waiting for them to call you back, you're going to be calling them or calling their parents. You're going to call their family members and find out if it's possible that they are in that city and possibly in trouble. Even if it is a broken down car or whatever, you want to make efforts to reach out, but never ever call them back at a number they provide to you to check to see if they're really in trouble. Because they've provided you the number, yep, they're going to be there. A lot of people wonder, how is it that people become victims to these crimes, these scams, and it's really important that you understand how they do it. So the grandparent will answer the phone and they'll get a hi grandma. The victim will say hello. The con artist will say, do you know who this is? And the grandparent will say, is this John? And they're going to say, yep, this is Johnny. You've given them a name. And as soon as they can get a name from you, they then can personalize it and start pulling on your heartstrings. The best idea is if you get a call from someone who says, do you know who this is? I want you to say, I'm not sure. Can you tell me who this is? Never ever provide them with a name, because that's when you're going to become a victim, okay? Now remember as well that if your Facebook profile is not secure and anyone can access your Facebook profile, they can access the name of your grandchildren. So that is part of you have to be safe on your social media as well. The Canada Revenue Scam is also one that's very common, and I'm glad that we get to talk about it today, because it is so prevalent this time of the year. You receive a phone call from the Canada Revenue Agency saying that you owe taxes, that the police are on their way to arrest you, and they're going to take you to jail and have criminal charges laid against you, unless you have funds. They'll even leave you a message to call them back. And they are getting better. Their messages are spot on. It sounds like a Canadian now. It did not prior to this. When I was off, I had open heart surgery back in 2015, and when I was home and getting these messages, I was going, what the heck? Because there were like 4 different voices. Like, who's going to fall for that? But I have good hearing. Someone who doesn't have good hearing may not hear that and may not, see that. So it's really important to remember that Canada Revenue is not going to call you randomly. They may call you, they sometimes have to, And if they have to call you, there's two things they may ask you. The last 3 digits of your social insurance number, and only the last 3 digits, and your previous address, not your current address. Those are things the Canada Revenue Agency will ask you to confirm who you are. But they will not ask you for your whole social insurance number. They will not ask you for your middle name, your date of birth, your current address, or any of those things, because they know that that's something the scammers do. And the scammers want that information because then they can build up information on you and eventually take advantage of you. I also will tell you that the police will never come and arrest you for not paying taxes. If you do not pay your taxes, you will have a knock on the door and someone in a uniform, probably from the sheriff's office, not from the Greater Sudbury Police Service, will come and hand you a summons and tell you to appear in court on such a date and such a time to face charges that are being laid against you. I can also tell you that our federal crowns are awesome people. They will work with you and help you to reduce any sentences so that if you can pay the taxes that you owe, you will get a slap on the fingers and that's about it. No one owes so much money that anyone's going to come and arrest you. There's not going to be a major takedown or anything like that. I can guarantee you that, okay? Yeah. And the other thing to remember that is taxes are federal, right? So federal police is RCMP, right? Guess what? They closed their office in Sudbury. There's no RCMP. Well, there are 2 still in Sudbury, but they work from home and they're really busy with other things. They can't be bothered with tax evasion, okay? So don't worry about it.
They're going to come to you wearing their house coat and slippers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of them teaches full-time. Like, I don't know how he does it. He teaches full-time at one of our colleges, and he's an RCMP officer. He has an arrangement with another teacher who will replace him when he has to be on duty, but he manages and does it, so who knows. The Hitman Scam is one that I think is really funny. I'm not going to read through all of it because it is quite tedious, but I want you to think about this, okay? First of all, the guy says, I am a member of a well-trained guy in the Middle East. We take part in suicide bombings and special killings for top government officials. First of all, if they're suicide bombers, how are they still alive? Secondly, are any of us top government officials? I don't think so. Not high enough up for anyone to really care. And thirdly, I don't know anyone who's going to spend money in order to see me dead. Those are the things you have to remember. If you ever receive an email, this is an email scam that's going around. If ever you receive something like this and you think, oh, maybe, what if? Please go see our information officer. He or she will reassure you that this is a scam. It is a common scam that's been going around for 20 plus years. No one is coming to assassinate you. And if someone was going to assassinate you, they certainly would not approach you and offer you to make a deal with them. So that's something you want to remember, okay? I've been asked by a holding company, a property rental company, to just briefly speak about property rentals. If you are, and I'm not going to read through all this, it's very tedious. However, what they are offering is a 3-bedroom apartment. It includes all utilities, including internet and cable TV and anything you can think of. In-suite washer, dryer, everything else. Beautiful apartment. The pictures on Kijiji are like floor-to-ceiling windows, fireplace in the living room. Amazing, like 10-foot ceilings. Beautiful apartment on Shelley Drive. Has anyone ever been on Shelley Drive? There are apartments there, but they are just regular apartment buildings. The key to this is this guy says, if you want to see the apartment, just drive by the building because I can't let you into the building. At no point does the person say he's the landlord. And then he says he's in Alberta because his mother's dying, but if you send him the money, he'll send you the keys. So my rule of thumb is, and please make sure your children and grandchildren do follow the same thing, is if you cannot go in and physically see an apartment and speak to the landlord, do not rent it because it is a scam, okay? And don't believe everything you see on Kijiji. In this instance, it's a picture that they've taken from a real estate site and they've represented it as their apartment. So it's very, very important to be careful of these things. If you're looking for a place to live, make sure you talk to the landlord. Excuse me. Identity theft is one that has to be very, very careful with. Anyone who can get your information can use your identity. And they can go as far as using your name, your social insurance number, your credit card number, or other pieces of personal information to get loans, to buy houses, buy cars. More locally, it would be to activate a cell phone number, never use it, never pay for it, and then you end up with a bill. And the only way you find out that someone has taken advantage of you is you go to the bank and you say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go take a loan out for a couple of $1,000s to do some renovations on my home. And you go and the bank says, no, you owe money like crazy. And you're like, what do you mean? I paid all my bills. Well, yeah, no, you've got this bill that you've never paid for. And you're like, what are you talking about? Well, now you've got to start getting the legal fees. You've got to try and prove it's not you. There's legal fees. There's lawyers involved. It takes years, especially if it's a huge amount, like a house or something like that. So it's really, really important to keep your information private. Lottery emails. If you receive an email saying that you've won, be leery, okay? They will ask you to keep it a secret, which should be the red flag. Anytime anyone says keep it a secret, that's your red flag. They will ask you to pay an upfront fee, of course. Remember, if you didn't buy a ticket, you can't win. That's the first rule of thumb. Winners are not selected randomly by email addresses. Winners are not notified by email. Lottery winners are not told that they're winning, to keep their winnings a secret. In fact, if you win 649, they want to use your name, they want to use your picture, they want to promote you. And Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, if you win the dream home, they want to promote, and that's why it's so important. Winners will never be asked to call a cell phone or even worse, an international number. Legitimate companies do not use emails like Hotmail or Yahoo or Gmail even. Those are personal private email addresses, and that's what the ones the scammers are going to use. And winners never have to pay an upfront fee such as taxes or security deposits. So if you win $1 million on the Lotto 649, you will receive $1 million. That money is tax-free. However, any interest you earn on that million is where you're going to get taxed. So that's what's important to remember, okay? You're not paying extra fees. Even the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, when they do, the Kinsmen, when they do their draws, there's always a lawyer paid in the grand prize, because all the fees that are required to transfer the property into your name have to be covered, and it's all done with that lawyer that they've hired to represent their draw. So remember, if you win, you shouldn't have to pay fees, okay? These are a couple of, I can't talk anymore. A couple of examples of scams that are common, letters that have been throughout the years. One of them is an international lottery commission, and it's from Spain, but if you don't catch that it's from Spain, it's US dollars, so you have no way of knowing. Same with the other one. It looks like it's from McDonald's, headquartered in Spain. So you kind of think, So those are some old ones that I was provided to show people. And then there's phishing, and when I talk about phishing, I'm not talking about fishing for lake trout. Try to remember that. The word phishing comes from the analogy that internet scammers are using email lures to fish for passwords and financial data from a sea of internet users. What that means is, if you get something on Facebook that says, hey, do you want to enter this draw? Please create an account. We need your username. We need you to create a password. You've just given them the stuff that you use all the time. And then they're going to ask you for your name, your address, your phone number, and your date of birth. You've just provided who knows who with all that information. The other way that they do protect yourself, if you get one of those phone calls, just say, hey, you know what? I'm really busy right now. I'll call you right back, okay? And call your bank at the number that's on the back of your card and say, hey, are you trying to reach me? And if they have something that they need to reach you with, they have that information on your account, and they will ask you the questions. So protect yourself.
Well, I just wanted to point out, biologically speaking, the species that they're fishing for are called suckers.
Oh, yes, you're very right. It is true, and it's unfortunate, but yes, it's true. So try not to give your information online or by phone calls, because those people are fishing for information and they will take advantage of you. Here's a couple of other ones that are examples. The one closer to me, I think, yeah. The one closer to me, if you look at the bottom, there's just an email address, and they're just asking you to email them. This guy is, he is part of the Nigerian, hang on, Nigerian Minister of Petroleum. And he wants to invest in Canada, but he can't invest directly in Canada because he lives in Nigeria. So he's asking you to give him your bank account information. He's not saying that, but he's going to ask you it so that he can deposit $43 million US in your account, and then you can make investments in Canada because you're a Canadian citizen, and you guys can share in the profits. Just click on that email connection and send him an email so that he can ask you for your banking information. Do you understand? Don't press that connection. The other one that says Capital One, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but if you look very careful around Capital One, you can see that that's been cut and pasted to a document. So that's your first clue that there's something wrong. And in this, they're asking you to click on that center connection, the center, the orange part in the middle, which will connect you to them because they have $8,000 that they are trying to transfer to you. However, they just need you to complete some information. So if you'll click on that and give them your banking information, they will then complete that transfer. Yeah, I don't think so. So do not click on anything like that, because as soon as you open any of these things, you're opening yourself to all kinds of scams and becoming, as the gentleman back there said, a sucker. So it's really, really important to be careful and never to provide that information. And for those of you who do go online, it's very important that you know your uniform resource locator. And everyone looks at me and says, what is that? That is the email or the web page that you're going to. It has an official name. It's not called a web page address. It's called a uniform resource locator. It's really important when you enter a web page address. So in this example, we're using ours, which is www.gsps.ca, and you hit enter. Once you get directed to that web page, go back up and look at that address and make sure it's correct. Because scammers will set it up so that when you enter a certain web page, they can redirect you to their web page. Example, and that is the Microsoft that he was speaking of earlier. That's probably set up that way so that it redirected him to the wrong web page. So you have to be careful and double check that you are actually on the web page that you requested, because they will put something simple like an underscore or an extra period or something like that to make you believe you're on the right one, but you're not. So be very, very careful with that. And then if you are shopping online, it's important, again, check and double check your web page. Make sure you're on the correct one. Set up an account payment such as PayPal or a credit card that you only use online with a small amount, like $500 of credit on it, just to protect yourself. Look for the padlock in the bar. So if you look on the far end of the bar, you'll see there's a little padlock. Hang on, I'll go show you. At the other end of the bar? Okay, you see that? And then also if you look, the HTTPS. If there's no S there, that's not a secure web page. So you want to look, because a lot of the times it's just HTTP. That would be a non-secure web page. HTTPS is a secure web page. So look for both those things, and that way you have a little bit more confidence that you're on a web page that's safe. Also, you want to shop at retailers that you know and trust. You don't want to go somewhere that you've never been or a company you've never heard of. You want to make sure that if you are interested in going shopping on a web page that you're not familiar with, that you talk to someone. You know, talk to some family and friends and see if they've ever been to the web page and they've done shopping online. You want to protect yourself. And then there's the romance scam. This one is a really scary one. Generally, a victim and a fraudster will meet through social networking or a dating site. There are all kinds of sites now where you can meet people and just have conversation with them. The relationship will develop online and is often long distance. The fraudster will gain the trust of the victim through displays of affection, or they'll say little things like, "Oh, you know what? You're in Sudbury. I was born in Chelmsford, and I grew up in Chelmsford, but now I'm working in Saudi Arabia because of my job." They're going to try and make you feel like, "Oh, you're someone from my neighborhood." You know what I mean? So it's really important to be careful of that. Eventually, the fraudster and the victim will arrange to meet. The fraudster may need money to cover travel costs, or they may suddenly fall ill during an airport layover and require immediate funds for surgery. Or they're a millionaire and they require money in order to take their money out of escrow. On that one, I've had someone actually approach me and say that they had a relationship online with a gentleman, and the gentleman wanted $10,000 to take his million out of escrow. The woman was smart and went, "Yeah, I don't have that kind of money," and he hung up and never called her again. So those are some of the things you have to watch out for. You know, they're really good. Again, using all the, to put all the scams together, there's one phone call I received from someone. A male party had a friendship with a female party on a networking site. I don't know which one it was. And his family was concerned and called me, and I said, "You know what, have him call me, because I'd rather talk directly to him." My questions to him were, "Have you ever sent this person money?" He said, "Well, yeah, she was in a car accident a while back, so I sent her $1,000 to help her out." Well, "Oh, okay." I said, have you ever spoken to this person on the telephone?" He's like, no, we've never had a phone call. I said, "You know, there's costs involved." I said, "Okay, well, Skype's pretty much free. Have you ever had a Skype conversation with her so that you're actually seeing who she is at the other end?" "Oh, no." I said, "So how do you know she's not a 250-pound biker with a beard down to her belly button?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I've seen pictures." I said, "Really? So what kind of pictures have you seen?" "Well, you know, she was at the beach with her spouse, with her kids, and she sent me a picture." Not her spouse, but her kids. I said, "Really?" I said, "Do you know how easy it is for someone to access pictures on an unsecure Facebook page, take all the photos that are there, and then create a life around those photos so that they can send you photos to show you that they're at the beach with their kids?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought of that." I said, "Okay, now, your family member told me that she's in Europe going to collect on a big inheritance, right?" He's like, yeah, she's in, I can't remember, I think it was England or Scotland or something like that. She's in another country in Europe, and she's getting this huge inheritance from a family member she didn't even know she had. And I'm like, okay. So I said, "So has she called you for money yet?" And he's like, "Oh, no, she's good. She's got it covered." I said, "Okay, you're going to get a phone call, and she's going to ask you for money and not just $1,000. "Oh, no, she wouldn't do that." "Okay, sir. Well, you're aware. I've warned you. I've spoken to you. That's all I can do, right? I mean, I can't make anyone do what 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from the gentleman saying, "Thank you very much." Because, she wanted a large sum of money. So you never know what's out there and what's going on with these scams. We currently have some that are the $200,000-300,000, that are active investigations in Ontario that, people are falling for these scammers. There's one lady in Toronto who thought she was going to get a big inheritance, so she sold her condo and sent them $500,000. There's another lady in Southern Ontario who was friends with a young man who was a Canadian soldier who was injured in Afghanistan, recovering in a veterans hospital in Florida, and he had to pay his own medical costs, and if he wanted to fly home, he'd have to pay his own flight. Okay, he's a Canadian soldier. The Canadian government's going to take care of him. He's not going to be in Florida, and he's certainly not going to be having to pay his own flight home. So those are some of the things that you have to think about and talk to someone to make sure that it makes sense to you, you know? So check it out always. Door-to-door sales, just very briefly, be firm, just say no. Do not let anyone into your house, even if it is minus 40 degrees. They came and knocked at the door, too bad. Stay outside, buddy. Do not show any of your personal documentation or utility bills to people. Don't ever sign anything at the door. Aggressive salespeople can be reported to police, and they will act on it if they have someone in the area. Do not be afraid to close the door on them and tell them that you're going to call the police. And door-to-door salespeople in Sudbury require a special license from the city in order to be able to go door-to-door. So that's your first question. Do you have a city license? And then if they get pushy, close the door, call the police. They are not allowed to do it. I had to do it to a gentleman, and he thought it was a really big joke when I told him he was trespassing and that I would now be calling the police. And he said, you go ahead and call the police. Guess what? He didn't know I worked for the police. I think he was about a block and a half away when the police stopped him, and he had the Inquisition. Okay, it was a bylaw, but it's still a ticket. So, you know, he could think it was funny, but it wasn't to me. I will, however, touch on this really briefly. This is really, really important. If someone comes to your door now, today, as of March 1st of 2018, because I haven't updated it, it's been a year since I updated this slide, it is illegal for anyone to come to your door and approach you to offer you any water filtration, water cleaning, water cooling, heating, air conditioning, or air product, any softeners or any of that stuff. They cannot legally come and knock on your door. If someone does that, please close the door, tell them to go away, and call the police. It is illegal for them to do so. They are not allowed to do it. If you want a water softener or water cooler or a new furnace or air conditioning, you have to do the lead work, and you have to call them and invite them to your home. They cannot just randomly knock at your door anymore. There were so many scams about this that the government of Ontario decided to step up and make it a law. So please make sure you call the police if someone shows up at your door, because too many people have been victimized by these people. Your PIN number is yours. Don't share it. Never ever share it with anyone, even if it is a spouse, a child, or anything else. It is private and personal. Keep it to yourself. Travel and vacation scams. Everyone's heard the ship's horn, right? By simply filling out a ballot to win a vacation at a home show, boat show, or any of those shows, you could be put on a suckers list. Okay? Shortly after filling out the ballot, you may be contacted by phone and offered a free or a low-cost vacation. You will be required to offer them a credit card number or some sort of deposit to hold your place in this huge, fantastic deal. And I will tell you, if you call a real estate agent, you'll probably pay half of what they're offering you. Don't fall for this. Do your research, look into it before you accept anything like this, okay? And then the last but not least, the recovery scam. So if you have been scammed, if you have lost money at any point in time, believe it or not, there are scammers out there who will call you and ask you if you would like to recover your money. And for a small fee, they will help you with that. They will say that they're investigators or police. They will say they're bank employees or even lawyers. But for a small fee, they will come and help you. So what to remember is, don't share personal information and never confirm any information that they ask you for. If you receive a call, immediately hang up as soon as you realize it is a scam, or even better, if you don't know the number, don't answer the phone. Do not send money as requested to anyone through email, Western Union, check cashing stores, or prepaid cards of any kind. And never give out your credit card number to someone that's called you, because you don't know who they are. Do not respond to unsolicited mail or emails. Confirm the source. Avoid opening emails and attachments from unknown sources, especially zip files, because those are where that malicious software will be. Make regular backups of your computer in your important files, preferably on an external drive. That will give you some protection. If you do suffer a financial loss, it is very important to call the police. At least that way they might be able to help you. Sometimes they can. It depends on how the money was transacted. And if you are not a victim, but you're consistently getting contacted, you can contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. They are run through the RCMP. They compile information. I mean, they can't stop people, but they will compile that information so that eventually, if they can catch someone, that information can be used against them. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre has an amazing website with all the scams that are actively in the community. I cannot touch on all of them. There's too many, constantly changing. Always take the time to think about your situation. Seek the advice of a family member or a friend, or even call the police. We have an information officer 24 hours a day who's more than happy to answer questions if you're not sure. I just want to talk 2 minutes on Crimestoppers. Crimestoppers, everyone believes, is part of the Greater Sudbury Police Service or other police services. Crimestoppers is a non-profit organization that is self-funded and self-supported. There are 2 police staff that work in the office. We answer phones. That's all we do. We are not part of the management of the day-to-day operations. We don't have anything to do with the fundraising or anything like that. We just deal with the calls as they come in. Crimestoppers wants you to understand that it is a very simple principle that for every crime committed, someone somewhere has some information. A lot of people don't want to call Crimestoppers because they fear retaliation, they don't want to go to court, they don't want to be seen as rats, and they don't know who to call. And sometimes because they don't really want to get involved. Crimestoppers realizes that, and that's why they offer 100% anonymity. You will always remain anonymous. We don't have call display. We don't have any way of tracing your IP address if you're going through a web to send information to us. You will never go to court because we can't subpoena you. We don't know who you are, right? That goes without saying. You can collect a cash reward, and you would be given the instructions on how to get that cash reward if you are successful. It is a public place you go to, and you're given an envelope with cash. And you can make a big difference in your community. So just to, briefly on that again, and there's a local number, 705-22-TIP, I forgot a 2 there, or our 800 number, which is again 222-TIP, so it makes it very easy. Or if you want to go online, you could go to SudburyCrimestoppers.com, and there's a link there to connect you with our webpage so that you can access that information. Does anyone have any questions about any? Yes?
How do you get in touch with the RCMP if you need them?
You'd call the Greater Sudbury Police if you're in Sudbury.
I have another question.
Yep.
PayPal,
Yes.
is it legitimate or?
My son has been using PayPal since he was 14 years old. You can't legally have a PayPal account until you're 18. So it's my PayPal account connected with his bank card so that he can go shopping online and he doesn't have to come, Mom, I'm tired of hearing, who wants to hear that every time, right? I get an email for every transaction he does so that I know where he's spending his money. And I know that and if there's a transaction that goes through that's questionable, I will ask him and he will confirm or deny. And if it's not, I can tell them that it's not us that made the purchase, and they will stop the purchase.
Okay, so is it like an e-transfer?
It's safer than an e-transfer because you're not doing it from your bank account. You're doing it through them.
Okay.
They monitor and manage your account to make sure you're safe. Anyone else? Yeah?
I'm just going to come forward to repeat
Oh,
the
yeah,
questions.
sure.
I have one that you mentioned, people that come to your door, like usually it's a high school kid, and they come to your door asking for a food donation.
Yeah, there's actually a fundraiser that Llewellyn does every
Yeah,
year,
but they're
or
all
Lockerbie.
over the town. And a lot of people have those fancy little key holders, and where do you put it? You put it right by your door, because when you're going out, you want to grab your key and go. But what happens is this kid comes to the door, he asks for some donation, and you go down into the kitchen or somewhere and look for that old can
Absolutely, that can happen, and that's
We
that.
have that
That,
for our neighbors.
but that's not a scam, ma'am. That's a criminal offense. That is a completely different. They're not scamming you. They're stealing from you. What you and it's always recommended that you do not keep your, and anyone will tell you, do not keep your keys near a door or window. They should not be left in a you know.
But it's so easy, Lise. You get into the house and you go, because otherwise it's in your
Okay.
pocket, and then, that's a whole different issue, I know.
My mom is sitting right there.
Your mom.
Yeah, my mom is sitting right there, and ask her how many times I gave her shit. Excuse my language, because she has a little stool by her door and she would leave her keys there. She no longer does.
Good for
The
you.
keys are out of sight, out of mind. They should not be left somewhere where anyone can pick them up. And yes, I used to, oh, Mom, you can't do that. Someone's going to open your door and grab your keys. Yeah, right. No, she does not. She does now, but she didn't used to. So those are some of the things that you have to consider. If you're leaving your keys out in the open where anyone can see them, and you're leaving someone unattended in your entranceway, you're offering up your vehicle to be taken.
Not just your vehicle, your
Your
safety
house,
deposit box,
oh,
key,
whatever's on your keys. Whatever's on your
snowblower
keys.
key,
My,
snowmobile key.
my keys to my car are in my purse. My purse is in my room, and that is where it remains. My husband's keys are in his lunchbox, which is tucked under the kitchen table when he's not at work. So we have places we keep them that are on, and all the keys to sheds and everything else, we have a little box that we keep hidden away where those other keys are. Other keys that we have for things that should not be accessed by anyone should they break into our home are in my office at work. So it is what you have, you have to do what you know is the best, safest way to make sure that you protect yourself. Any other questions?
We can take maybe 2, 3 more. We'll take 3
Okay,
questions.
the lady in the blue.
There is another scam going around.
Oh, there's many, I can't touch all of them.
That it's the bank calling and they're letting me know that there has been a withdrawal in Europe on my account.
Yeah, they just want your bank account information, right?
Well, but I went to the bank and there was nothing, but I had another one a week after.
Yes,
I didn't
but
report that.
that goes to saying, if you receive a call from anyone, don't disclose your personal information. And that's what it comes down to. You have to not tell your information. There was someone in the back there? Okay, the lady in the royal blue. Oh, yeah. You know what? And you know what? That's awesome. It's great if you enjoy milking them along and everything. But you know what you're doing then? Is you're opening yourself up to them calling more often. And if you piss them off, literally, if you get them mad, they will sell your phone number to 10 other scammers. And you will then get more phone calls. So that's the thing that you should remember. Every time, if I get caught and I answer that phone and think, oh, I shouldn't have answered, and someone starts on something, I'll say, you know what, I'm really not interested. Thank you for calling, and I'll hang up. Because I've thanked them for calling me. I'm not being rude. I'm not telling them off, but I'm getting the heck off the phone. Those are the things to remember.
Mr. Romanko.
Do you have any information on this fake scam that I've heard about, where someone gets a hold of your personal information concerning your home and is able to take out another mortgage?
So it's somebody gets hold of the information about your home and takes out a mortgage on your home without knowing about it. The Fifth Estate, I think, or one of the other programs did a huge piece on that about maybe 3-4 years ago. And I recommend Googling CBC and putting in,
And while you're at it, if you look at CBC, it's CBC Marketplace.
Marketplace. There we go.
And there's a huge one piece on Canada Revenue Agency and the fact that there are snipers watching the places where these guys are actually scamming, calling from, and that they can move from one apartment building to another within 30 seconds. If you have a chance, if you have an opportunity to go to CBC Marketplace, check it out. There's both of those scams are on their market. The one on the Canada Revenue was on, I'd say, within the last 6 months. You can't know who's calling you, and you can't avoid it's everywhere. Everywhere you go. Currently, the biggest scam is if you're going to use your bank card at a store, make sure no one's looking over your shoulder, because that's the most current scam that's going around. But it's involving theft as well, because they'll stand over your shoulder, they will watch you enter your PIN number, and then someone else will come along and distract you so they can steal your bank card or credit card, and then they'll go shopping and they're going to go buy a whole bunch of gift cards that they can use for whatever they want. And you're going to be out that money. So it's really important to protect your PIN number when you're shopping.
Now, I said we were just going to do one, sorry, Mr.
I just wanted to comment that I was surprised how easy, I would say negligent, the lenders are, whoever is providing a second mortgage on your property, that they do not do due diligence to see.
Well, see, in Canada, in Canada, I know that if you're going to apply for a mortgage, it has to go through a lawyer, and the lawyer has to do that due diligence. So you're protected here. I think that's more of an American thing than a Canadian thing. Oh, no? It's happened in...
That happened to my daughter and son-in-law, and the only reason they found out there was a second mortgage on the house is they went to sell the house and found out they had this.
Right, so when they went to sell the
Somebody
house,
out
they
in
found out there was
BC
another mortgage on
put
it.
a second mortgage on their house in Sudbury.
Wow.
And-
See, that's new to me. I did not know that. Wow. Good to know.
And
There's
the
a-
only reason they found out is because
They went to sell.
coincidence.
Yeah, they
Now,
checked.
I said there'd just be 3 questions. I did see somebody with a, who else had the, yes, go ahead.
No, we didn't have a date.
The do not call list? Yeah, do you think that it really works?
No.
No. So that's one of the reasons that many, not just seniors, a lot of people are saying,
Everybody.
I am giving up my phone in a phone book. I'm not even going to go unlisted. I'm going to get a mobile phone where it's not listed. But you know what? I would say out of 5 years, I've maybe got 3 phone calls on my mobile.
That's the automatic dialer that's calling you.
Probably. Yeah. It's like, so I used to say, so how did you get this number? Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
If they say CARP, then I'm good. I'll answer. Sandra, yes.
I want to say that most of your seniors, most of you are in Sudbury, and there's a rash of houses being broken into.
Houses being broken into, so be aware.
Supposedly they were watching the house.
Well, they can watch obituaries as well.
Yes.
They can do a number of things. I don't know if you read about a lady who took her husband out of the vehicle, and yeah, you read about that at Sudbury store. Please, Pearl. I mean, we could go on and on
For a
because
week, I tell ya.
there.
I had a guy following me yesterday.
A guy following you. Oh, jeez.
No, white truck, and I'm sure he's following me because he came out of the bank the same place I did.
So Sandra, did you get his license plate number?
No, but I went all the way, different way home so that he wouldn't follow me home.
Get that license plate number. If someone's following you, try and get that plate number. If there's a car that's been sitting outside your property for days on end and you're kind of suspicious about it, get your plate number. We had, at my house last year, we had a car that was there for 3 days, and I'm like, this is really bugging me. So I ended up calling the police, and they said, well, I said, can you just reach out to the owner and say, hey, you know what, your vehicle's parked in a corner and it's blocking the intersection. It's really unsafe for people to pull out because they can't see past their vehicle. And sure enough, this person had loaned the car to someone, and someone had just left it there. Wow, okay. But there was no one in the car. We were fortunate there was no one in the car. But if someone's sitting in the car, be suspicious.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow. Well, no thank you, actually. We don't want any of this, do we?
No.
No. We are aware. You know what? So here's my one of my words on this. You now know. You've thought about it. You've probably thought about other things that are going on in the community. Don't keep it to yourself. When Harry's at the Y tomorrow morning, say to people, I've just heard about some scams. Right, Harry? Okay, good. When you, because I know I see you at Tim Hortons sometimes. Am I right?